welcome back to my channel. Today, coming to talk to you about a book that I just finished recently, and it was one of these very weird books that I have very mixed feelings about. But what I did in preparation for this video is I've listed 3 positive and 3 negative things, or at least the things that I did and didn't like. We're gonna go one by one and just discuss the things that did and did not enjoy about this book. Today I'm gonna be talking about Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This book has been super hyped. I've seen so many positive book reviews here on YouTube, on Instagram, but even on Goodreads. I think the book has 4.58 out of 5, which is really high, and for me it's still really difficult to decide on the rating for this book. Let's just dive into the synopsis. Where the Crawdads Sing is a historical mystery novel. It's set in 2 timelines. In the first timeline it's 1952. We meet Kaya, who's a younger, I think she's like 7 years old, and she lives with her family in the marsh, which is essentially the part of the land that is very close to the ocean, and there's a lot of waterways, little rivers, lagoons, this sort of things. So the plot starts when Kaya's mother and all of her older siblings abandon her because of the abusive and violent father, and Kaya's left by herself with the abusive dad. He does not do anything, he's jobless, he's got a gambling addiction, and he also has an alcohol addiction. So the whole family decides to leave the little shack in the marsh. Soon after that, Kaya is left alone because the father goes missing. Kaya, being a 7-year-old girl, she is left to fend for herself, and she has to survive in the marsh on her own. There is also a second timeline which is taking place years after that. In 1969, a popular man from a nearby town is found dead, and there's this investigation going on. The main suspect in this investigation is Kaya, who is already 23 years old. Plot-wise, I think it was not the most exciting book. It was not really innovative or anything new in there. We have a coming-of-age story with a twist of a setting, and then we have a murder mystery, whodunit type of thing. So to me, it was not really exciting or anything new at all. But what I really did appreciate was the writing style in the chapters when we follow young Kaya growing up and trying to find her way and trying to survive in the marsh on her own. I think the description of nature and the ecosystem on the marsh, they were done exceptionally well. The author throws in little facts about animals and flowers and mushrooms and everything that surrounds Kaya. The way that the nature is described is so beautiful. You can clearly see that Delia Owens has passion for nature and that she's really interested in that subject. I think this is her first novel, but she co-wrote some scientific books or some memoirs, all surrounding nature and science, because this is what she studied, and it shows in here her passion towards biology, towards living creatures, and the earth shows in the descriptions of nature, and I think it was wonderful to see that. It made me really connected with the story, but the writing style is also a negative in the case of this novel. The chapters in which we were following the sheriff and the investigation, they were completely blunt and without any sort of writing style at all. It was literally just sentence after sentence describing what people were eating, what people were, who was going where, and the contrast was so massive that it made me feel that Delia Owens doesn't know how to write regular life, because she has so much passion for nature and she's so great at describing nature. It just made me question and think about, if I were to pick up any other of her books not set in the marsh or whenever, when the nature doesn't play really a big role, would I get the writing from the other chapters, which I really did not enjoy. It was just really plain, it was really step by step, and there was really no finesse to it, and it was just boring to me. That being said, I think another massive positive thing about this novel is the setting. The marsh, it was something I've never read about before, and it made me feel immersed in this setting. And it just, the chapters when we following Kaya through her life on the marsh, it was just so immersive and super atmospherical. She was functioning with the nature. She made it on her own, and the wildlife that was surrounding her made her who she was. And it was amazing to see, it was amazing to experience, but it also was super enjoyable to be in that setting, far away from any sort of civilization, far away from people. Definitely a massive part of my enjoyment came from the setting. I think another negative about this book was the pacing. Even though I was enjoying the parts of the story when we were following Kaya as a young girl, I think they were extremely slow. Like, honestly, there was not much happening. For the most part of the book, we are just following her, which I'm normally okay with, especially that the setting was really good. But there was really nothing happening in the chapters when we were following her as a young kid and then teenager. The only actions and the only thing that made the story was the murder mysteries. And then at the end we get to the part of the book that was, to me, the most boring of the whole story, which was the trial. And I honestly don't understand the need for the trial to be so excessively written about. We spent almost like 8 or 9 chapters just following the trial, and there's really nothing happening in there apart from witnesses saying things that we already know, which was completely pointless to me. And then on the other hand, we have the characters and the themes that this book explored. I really enjoyed reading about Kaya because she was really a fascinating character. She was so intelligent, she was so smart. She honestly, without anyone else's help, she was able to make a living because of her intelligence and her just quick thinking. And it was really refreshing to see a character like that in the story. But also we see how her character was influenced by the nature and the wildlife that she was surrounded. Not only is she kind of an outsider because she lives far away from everyone, she never meets people, she never sees them, but she also picked up some behaviors and some values from the nature and wildlife that she's been observing throughout her life. And it's really interesting to see how this has impacted her as an adult later on in life. Kaya is not a person or a character that you can ever identify with. She is a person who literally lives on her own without any sort of civilization things such as running water or even a phone. I think she then later gets a phone, but like at the start she just completely lives in her bare shack without anything. She's not the kind of person who we living in the 21st century could ever imagine being close to or similar to. It was really interesting for me to see why and how she's making her decisions. As a character, Kaya was an amazing person to follow. Also the themes that this book was exploring, it was really hard-hitting for me. I mean, I had so many tabs in here marking quotes or things that make me think, and I mean, it's a really great story when it comes to important themes. In the story, Delia Owens explains and explores so many different themes that are really close to our hearts and that are really important in any kind of society. Just seclusion, being an outsider, prejudice, segregation, the rawness of nature. It was really a very smart and intelligent book. There's so many things that made me think in there about a lot of things in life in general, and definitely the quotes that I marked in there, I would like to go back to and think about them more. So I think that was a really great thing about this book. But then came the ending, and as much as I appreciate when stories finish and we have everything explained, that's it, clean slate, you can move on. But in here, the last 2 chapters doesn't end when the plot ends. It ends years later because we learn all the story that what came next. And to me, it was a killer of this story. But I really think that a story like this that explores so many important things and themes that should make the reader think about for a long time after finishing the book. I think an open ending would be the perfect way to go, because it would leave you questioning things and asking yourself things and constantly thinking about a lot of things. Whereas in here, everything's been said, everything has been followed up. It's not that it was disappointing, but because I was already having mixed feelings about the book, because this book had so many ups and lows already. The ending, the very last thing that you read, was not something that I was expecting or was needing from this book. Up until the end, I was still engaged in everything, and I was thinking, okay, this is gonna be a 4-star read for me. And just the ending really ruined that for me, because I would like the book to finish what it started, which is made the reader think. In here we have everything served on the silver platter, and it's just no, it just, to me, it did not work. So yeah, in the end I did decide to give this book 3 out of 5 stars. I still think that there's so much greatness in the book, and there are so many positive things that I think and can say about this book, but it was just not up there. And especially having heard just crazy positive things about the book, and I just could not give it any higher rating than 3 out of 5. Okay guys, so this is it for my thoughts about Where the Crawdads Sing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I would very much like to know if you've read this book, what were your thoughts about it? If you've not read this book yet, are you planning to? So yeah, just hit me up in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again with another video soon.